We'll have a moment of silence for her. Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Steve Karayanen. Here. Kay Wilson. Here. Tweed Schuman.
Here.
Stacy Hessel. Here. Randy Newman.
Here.
Mark Helwig. Thomas Duffy. Here. Marshall Sabitsky. Here. Jim Evans. Here. Chuck Van Etten. Here. Jeff Haney, excused. John Regheimer, excused. Ron Kinsley.
Here.
Ron Buckholz.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Number 5, certification compliance open meeting laws.
Let the record show that this meeting was noticed to the news media and the public as required by statute 19.84 of Wisconsin statutes.
Thank you. Number 6 is the meeting agenda. The agenda is set. Number 7 is public comment. Under public comment, we ask that you fill out a form. We ask when you speak to the board, you keep it at 3 minutes. We also have a time limit, a total of 30 minutes. I know there's an item of the Lake District is very important to a lot of people. A lot of people like to speak about that. First, we'll have Ken Neiman. You want to state your name and your address, please?
Board, my name is Kent Lanen, and I'm at 10661 West Falcon Ridge in Hayward. So I'd like to speak to the board. Appreciate your time and opportunity to consider the Lake District formation. We are not in opposition to the Lake District, although we are in opposition from being included in within its boundaries. What we strongly disagree for our property being included is we never should have been included in the first place. We derive no benefit from being included whatsoever from Callahan Lake. We are half a mile away from the lake, from the closest shoreline, and we are landlocked next to a wetland. We are 7.2 miles from the public landing, which even on the DNR site says is limited to non-motorized craft. So it's basically a creek that forms into the lake. We never intend to spend any time in Callahan Lake. It's not where we choose to recreate in any way. We look back at real estate listings back to the year 2000 when our area was listed in the land as such, and there's not one single mention of Callahan Lake being close by or as an attribute to the property or the land. Our property is not associated with Callahan Lake in any way, and nor does anybody make reference to it. The only reason we were included was to spread out the financial responsibilities for the upkeep of the lake. You'll hear here the argument that it's too late to be removed from the boundaries, that it'll create a keyhole in the boundaries. The fact that they overreached in the first place and included us, and we never should have happened in the first place. Any argument to the contrary is absolutely without merit for so many obvious reasons, some of which I have put before you. We ask you to move that we move to stricken from the boundaries and the Lakes District. This should be an easy decision. If we're not inclined to do so, then we'll have to move forward with other remedies, as this will hurt our property values and marketing it. We're on a wetland. We chose to move to the wetland and not be associated with the costs that are associated with Lake District. So I'm retired. If I was lived on the lake, I could completely understand why they're formulating it. But from our perspective, we don't derive any benefit from it other than increased taxes, and in listing the property, I hope to never sell, but if we ever had to, there'd be no benefit for the increase in the taxes. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Carolyn Russell?
My name is Carolyn Catrona Russell. My address is 10996W South Shore Road in Hayward. My husband and I have owned a home on Callahan Lake for almost 15 years. In the last year, we both retired, so we're on a fixed income, and we don't welcome an increase in property taxes. However, I am strongly in favor of the Lake District. We have seen in Iowa what can happen when there's a catastrophic flood. In 2010, a flood knocked out the dam at Lake Delhi, a 450-acre lake in northwest Iowa. The dam was built in 1920, and it was overwhelmed by the floodwaters. The lake drained in days and left behind nothing but muck. It took 6 years for the dam to be repaired. It took the efforts of the Iowa legislature, the governor, a local bond issue, contributions from the county, and money from private fundraising. We've explored all the options, I think, for what we can do about our lake and its integrity. And what we've been told by the DNR is that forming a lake district is how we should proceed. We are not asking the residents to just divide up the cost of a dam and pay for it in taxes. The Lake District will make us eligible to apply for state grants and no-interest loans. We will not have to wait 6 years sitting around a mud field because we will be proactive and fix the dam before a catastrophe ruins it. I am very sympathetic with people who cannot afford an increase in taxes. I favor different rates of tax for those on the lake and those not directly on the lake, and I believe there is some accommodation for that in the law. Not in the law, probably. I also favor a fund for low-income residents on the lake who truly can't afford the increase. I don't know if that is within the boundaries of the law, but I would donate to such a fund. In sum, it appears that we will not be able to turn to the state, the federal government, the county, or the township to take over and repair the dam. It may not collapse for years, but before it collapses, I strongly favor creating the Lake District and being proactive and preventing a disaster. Thank you.
Thank you. Luann Emerson?
Lynn Amundson, 10745W Callahan Lake Road. I'm here to introduce our Lake Association and Exploratory Dam Committee to you. We stand here to share with you our process that we needed to undertake as it relates to the forming of a lake district and why it is so important to us. Our Lake Association's mission, written in our bylaws, is to preserve and protect both Callahan and Mud Lake and their surroundings and to enhance the water quality, fishery, boating, safety, and environmental values of Callahan and Mud Lake. This movement to become a lake district will allow us to meet our mission. Callahan and Mud Lakes have a unique heritage dating back to the 1930s. This is important not only to those in our lakes community, but to all who in the public choose to visit or have visited our lakes and enjoy it here. We have a public boat landing and resorts that are utilized by many people and enjoyed by all families. The community continues to grow with new houses being built. By becoming a lake district, we have the ability to coordinate better with the county and other government agencies as we pursue a solution to our dam and ongoing treatment for Eurasian milfoil. Our motivation to become a lake district is as follows: to be better positioned to address the challenges the lake have now and may face in the future, the need to rebuild the dam in response to the DNR report of September 2022, to be better positioned to maintain the health and quality of the lakes, such as mitigating Eurasian milfoil and other invasive species, to preserve and protect the lakes and their surrounds as a precious ecological and recreational resource and to enhance our water quality, and the ability to raise and access funds in order to fulfill our mission. This process started 2.5 years ago after the DNR did another inspection of our dam in 2022. At that time, they stated we had to show them that steps are being taken to remedy the problems with our dam and look at a rebuild, or they would consider it to be abandoned and removed it. We have coordinated our efforts with Eric Olson from UW Extension, Jacob Drefter from the DNR. We've hired an experienced engineer who has done a topographic survey and a potential design of a rebuild of the dam. This engineer also was the one who rebuilt the Tiger Cat Dam, excuse me. We also contacted other lake communities who have become a lake district and learned about their process and how this impacted their goals. We continue to apply for AAS surface water grants for the DNR for treatment of the lakes, but the competition for those available funds gets bigger every year. We've not been able to treat the lakes since 2022. We followed the recommendations in the legal process from what we have learned and proceeded to the point where we are today. We welcome any questions you may have for our committee and look forward to ongoing conversation with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James Mead?
Hi, thank you. I'm only reference
Name and address, please.
James Mead, 1904 Garden Drive, Janesville, Wisconsin.
Thank you.
In request for the rezoning of our 9.66 acres, the idea was to be able to cut off just one corner of the property because being forestry 1, it would have to be 300 foot, and we wanted to just cut off 150 foot. Financially, for upgrading the rest of the property, putting a septic system in, a well, things like that, and also maybe put one division through the property so my brother can add a trailer to it. That was the gist of the whole rezoning method. And if there's any other questions for that.
Okay, we have that later. We have that later on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay.
Stephen, else on South Shore Road?
Macintosh, maybe?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Steve McIntosh. I live at 11016 West South Shore Road. Since buying our house 20 years ago, casual conversations with our friends and neighbors have often drifted around the health of our lakes. The primary topics and threats have been invasive species and the status of the dam. Fortunately, a lake association was formed to tackle the milfoil, and the lakes were successfully treated every year from 2007 to 2022 with grants and donations. Unfortunately, the costs for treatment keep rising. The competition for grants has gotten stiffer as more lakes compete for a fixed amount of funds, and it all has resulted in the lakes receiving no treatment in the last 2 years. This is an ongoing risk that requires money to solve. As for conversations about the dam, there were many questions, opinions, and stories about ownership and its condition, but facts and answers have always been a bit hard to come by. Then a 2022 DNR report that's been mentioned provided some by rating the dam as being in poor condition. Further, if no one took responsibility for the dam and its maintenance, the DNR would recommend removing it to avoid catastrophic failure. Here in Sawyer County, some of you may know, in 2011, 2012, the DNR did remove the Grimm Dam in Radisson to avoid just such a risk. Now we face a similar situation. Clearly, the DNR report necessitated action, and I joined a group of people who volunteered to take time to understand the situation further, to address the DNR's expectations of ownership and maintenance, and along the way to commit to communicating what we were learning while continuously inviting others to join our efforts. At the time, it was unclear where this might lead, and as it turns out, it led to us being here tonight. Over the last 2+ years, the volunteer team met with the county and heard that there was no way that the county was going to put another dam on its books. Excuse me. While that was unfortunate to hear, there was no room for misunderstanding. We had our first answer. We also were told that after a record search, an owner of the dam could not be established. Another answer. When meeting with the DNR, they suggested exploring the formation of a state legislated organizational structure that allowed for dam ownership, the ability to raise funds through taxes and grants to care for the lake, and a path forward that included the direct involvement of local residents in decision-making, a lake district, and a potential solution to the problem. With help from the UW Extension, professional engineers, the DNR, other experts, we worked to learn about how a lake district functioned, whether it would indeed meet the needs of our lakes, and what steps were required to form one. It's been a pretty daunting task. It's involved thousands of hours of work. We did not set out to form a lake district or certainly to raise taxes. Importantly, however, no other viable alternatives have surfaced, and this one enables citizens to take direct responsibility for the lakes and have a voice in its future. In simple terms, The health of our two lakes is an issue that requires a solution. Our state provides a solution in the form of a lake district. So, given the existence of both a problem and a solution, I strongly encourage this body to allow the formation of the Lake District for Callahan and Mud Lakes, or to otherwise offer a viable alternative that will meet the needs of the DNR, our lakes, and our residents. Thanks to all of you for the service to our community and for your serious consideration of this issue.
Thank you. Dave Turner?
Hi, Dave Tenner, 10872 West Callahan Lake Road. I'll keep it short. I'm here to voice that I support the Lake District. I support the boundaries as proposed. I was part of the committee that, I came in late to work on the committee that's trying to form the Lake District. And a lot of time was put in and thought and studying the state statutes on what the boundaries should be and shouldn't be. And so I totally support the boundaries as defined, as approved by the petition. It will benefit the community, the whole community surrounding the lake. It is necessary. One thing I like to pass out is I think it would be great if some of the members could take a field trip and go down and actually look at the dam. If nobody's been down there and seen it, it's a pretty amazing thing to look, to see that it's actually holding back water. So it's right off the road. You can easily take a couple steps down there and see broken cement and just look at what we're dealing with. And I think you'll probably be amazed and agree it's serious and we need to take action. Thank you.
Thank you. Ray?
Ray Schnepp, 10896 W Callahan Lake Road. I'd like to thank the Land and Water Forest Committee for their hard work, and especially the Dam Committee. As you heard, they had hundreds of hours of work into this matter. We are here to decide one item. Per the DNR Dam Inspector's requirement, ownership must be established for the current dam. Once ownership is granted to the dam, to the Lake District, then the long process to replace the dam can proceed. The process will take time to complete. During that time, the Lake District will be responsible for the current dam. Any requirements the DNR or any other government agency has for the current dam will be directed to the Lake District Board, creating a clear line of communication. I think it is clear the importance of the two lakes staying as they are. Please approve the Lake District. Thank you.
Thank you. Jake Steinberg?
Hi, Jake Steinberg, 11154 W Plover Lane, Hayward. I've been a resident of a property on Callahan Lake for 3 years with my wife, Kimberly. This issue with the dam came up shortly after we moved here. I was involved with the dam committee, and I'm going to keep this short as well, but fully support the petition that was presented and the boundaries that were laid out. We're going to have some folks share some of the more of the facts of the situation. In previous meetings, I've heard a lot of talk about ill intent, and I just want to share what I've seen as a group of people that really didn't know each other that well and came together. Their only self-interest was the betterment of our lake community. The boundaries are fair. They're within the rules that we were that we adhere to set forth by the state. And I feel there's going to be some more of these in the future. And, certainly you could argue that they could be, even broader. But I ask that you, analyze the stuff that was presented and approve the Lake District based on those facts. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, I mispronounced your last name, on Chief Lake Road?
Good evening. My name is Greg Isold, 11007 West Chief River Road. I looked at as many dam reports as I could find. In a letter dated March 12, 2020, it states, the report is similar to that of 1997 as conditions have not significantly changed. The current physical state of the dam is stable enough to not warrant immediate action. The dam does not appear to be in any imminent threat to life, health, or property. So in 23 years, nothing really changed. I could not see anything that actually says what is wrong with the dam. Why didn't they try to get other ways to fund the dam? I believe that more study needs to be done to see if the dam actually needs to be replaced and to determine what the cost will be. All the reports mention the roadway needing repairs as it does not meet safety standards. What has this Lake Association done to get the roadway corrected? I don't believe anything. I have also talked to a fish biologist with the DNR about the chemicals the association uses for milfoil treatment. He stated that they had several inquiries about the safety of the chemicals, including from the several tribe members about the effects on fish. He told me he would get back to me with more information real soon. I have never believed in using any chemicals in any lakes. As soon as I get more information, I will pass this along to both the committee and the association. The property on the same river north of mine with the same water that flows through my property is not included. That is because I believe it is part of the Tiger Cat watershed. I get letters to update my contact information in case the Tiger Cat Dam fails, not in case the Callahan Dam would fail. My property does not benefit from Callahan mud lakes. I benefit from the Tiger Cat flowage. Since the dam and the milfoil are two main reasons to form a lake district, I do not believe I should be involved in the district. I should not have to pay to kill fish, and as a taxpayer in Sawyer County, I shouldn't have to pay a penny for any other dam in Sawyer County if I am paying for this one as being in the Lake District. At the last board meeting, the vice president of the association said he had no idea how much this is going to cost. The president of the association then said she was trying to keep it at a 1% mill rate. That would still incur about a 14% increase on my taxes. I highly doubt they could keep it at such a low mill rate, especially when they just stated that the next milfoil treatment would be $50,000. I'm asking that my property be removed from the Lake District. Thank you.
Thank you. Thomas Murray?
Hey, Thomas Murray, 10671W Falcon Ridge Road. I've sent 3 previous request detachments. I've attended 3 committee meetings presenting definite reasons for my detachment request. The most obvious reasons are my property is not lakefront, I have no deeded access, my property is not a riparian parcel as my property does not touch the lake. These reasons alone are enough for detachment. Additionally, I have no view of the lake. I receive no benefit being included in the Lake District. Being included does one thing, and that's to force me to contribute to the maintenance and cost of a body of water that does not directly affect my property and does not add value. North County Assessment Services confirm being near Callahan Lake or Highway B does not affect my property assessment. The Lake District Formation Committee did not include near businesses along Highway B. They stated they considered those businesses to be more remote from the lake. They are closer to the lake than my property. Also, there are properties with deeded access that were not included in the boundaries. This shows blatant favoritism. Chapter 33 clearly states that properties with deeded access should be included. There's been questions if creating keyholes in the proposed boundary is frowned upon. The issue of keyholes is not the fault of the property owner. When the Formation Committee drew the boundary, they should have fully investigated if there would be potential for keyholes with their overreach. The UW extension cautions against overreach when creating your boundary, stating that this could cause blowback from property owners and lead to legal implications. In regard to the dam's hazard potential classification is low. That means no probable loss of human life and low economic and environmental loss are principally limited to the owner's property if the dam were to fail. So all this talk about catastrophic failures and everything, none of that will occur according to the dam rating. In conclusion, regarding why my property should be detached, not a lakefront property, no deeded access, not a riparian parcel, no view of the lake, no benefit by inclusion, no added value since it's remote from the lake, as was the reasons given for the businesses along Highway B. And once again, they're closer to the lake than my property is. Some properties with deeded access were not included. The district may only include territories found to be benefited by the establishment of districts of the district. That's in State Statute 33.26, paragraph 3 of state legislation. And that's important because that is the only thing they list that would qualify you to be detached, is if you don't receive benefit. All these other ideas, they talk about them, but it is not listed in a state statute for detachment, just that benefit. If you prove no benefit, you're out. And then on a different note, because people have said, you know, we'll come up with a better idea. Clamfall Lake dam replacement awarded. Since the removal of the dam would leave lakefront property owners with a loss of property value, the county pursued options in the state budget to acquire funding. And this is kind of a compressed thing in there because I don't have time to read the whole thing. The county and the town of Clamfall agreed to sign an agreement to use the town's special assessment authority to subsidize maintenance and insurance costs of the dam. Governor Evers signed a bill of $2 million for repair and construction of the new dam. Then the county assumed ownership of the dam in 21. By working with their engineers, applied for additional grants, and the county was able to finally fully fund the project in 23. The project starts this spring and will be completed. Nobody had to pay a levied tax or anything. They worked together as a group. The state came up with the money, and then the county jumped in and was able to get grants issued to them. That's one example of a few. I don't have the time to keep researching this all the time. So, thanks.
Thank you. I just have 3 left. Rhonda, Chief Lake Road.
Good evening. Rhonda Isold, 11007 West Chief River Road in Hayward. I am opposed to the the approval of the Callahan and Mud Lake District. I have sent all of you several emails and documents that explain in great detail the reasons why. Hopefully you've all received them. These emails and documents also discusses the mistakes that were made in selecting the boundaries for the district, the careless methods that were used to collect and verify the petitions, the lack of information given by the Lake Association, and the general unfairness in this whole entire process. I'm asking that the entire county board vote against the formation of this district. These facts are undisputable. Only 28% of the people who signed the petitions are local residences. 52% are out-of-state property owners. If you look at only the properties that have signed petitions attached to them, a majority of these properties don't have any signed petitions attached to them. 51.9% of the properties are opposed to the Lake District. Most of the Lake Districts created in Wisconsin are inactive. It is true that somewhere in the area of 260 Lake Districts were formed by various organizations in the state of Wisconsin. At this time, only 113 are considered active by the state of Wisconsin, and 65 of those have budgets of less than $25,000. What I want to spend the rest of my time addressing is the properties that have requested removal from the Lake District boundaries. The county board has the absolute privilege to remove properties from a lake district according to state statutes. There's no need for the lake for correction. There's no need for landowners to prove anything to the board. The board just needs to approve the property's removal from the Lake District. The committee saw a need to list those properties that have requested removal from the Lake District. If you refer to Exhibit G in the committee's report, there are 10 properties that requested removal. My property is included in those 10 properties. I've also sent you an email stating clearly the reasons why my property never should have been considered in the Lake District. The committee only made a recommendation to remove one of those properties. This board can change that by making a motion to recommend the removal of all the properties listed in Exhibit G. I have sent an email that details why you guys should consider doing that. To date, the Lake Association has not made any admissions that their boundary decisions were mistakes, and they are unlikely to approve the removal of any property from the Lake District. You heard them tonight that they approve and they want the boundaries to remain the same. You heard that from these members tonight. It's very unlikely that they will approve the removal of any of these properties if a Lake District is formed, okay? At this point, you have the right to remove any boundaries that you want. You know, it's your privilege to do so. Please take this into consideration and remove all the properties listed in Exhibit G from the Lake District boundaries. You have the authority to right some of the wrongs in this petition by removing those properties. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have 2 left. Linda Zomer.
Linda Zilmer, resident of the village of Birchwood on Big Birch Lake, and property owner in Edgewater on Lake Chautauqua. Both are served by the Birch Lake Dam, which is jointly owned by Washburn and Sawyer counties, and share in the cost. So I understand what's involved with dams. I also was very much involved when I was on the village board with when the Lake Association wanted to investigate forming a lake district, which never did form, and also trying to get the 2 towns in the village to cease the herbicide treatments of an aquatic invasive species in the lake. Our fishery is still recovering and it's years later. So I understand some of the concerns that these people have raised with forming a lake district to fund activities that not everyone might agree with, and also which studies of the DNR are showing that herbicide treatments can negatively impact fish reproduction in the fishery. This process, as far as the county, started off really well. There are, if I understand correctly, and I have no way to verify, there are 40 to 50 or more dams in Sawyer County without owners, which more or less means they were illegally placed. So this is something that may come up again. Also, this is the first lake district that the county board is being tasked with making a decision on. And a lot of work went into trying to make sure that the people involved, as far as staff and the committee, knew what the process was and they were following along. People have shown up to express their opinions and their facts for and against, and everything seemed to be going well until the last committee meeting. At the last committee meeting, there was to be follow-up, the committee has been missing members. There was to be follow-up answers to questions from previous minutes or previous meetings. The administrator asked for clarification from legal at the beginning of the committee meeting so that the committee knew where they were headed. And I think after the end of the explanation, I don't know if it was if people were more confused or if it was clarification. The committee did not go through the exhibits that they had requested to look at that were attached to the agenda. One of them being a map that shows the properties that have agreed to form the Lake District. Because if you look at that map, I do question whether it's 50%, more than 51% of the properties on the lake, as it says in the findings and fact and conclusions of law. Granted, there might be signatures, but one property might have multiple signatures according to statute. The committee went along with what they said were staff recommendations for not removing some of these parcels that I don't understand how were included. And the committee never asked staff to explain why they would not remove those properties. So the committee has had no explanation, or the public for that matter, as to why some of these parcels that have no benefit are included. When it comes down to why, looking at other options, why has not the town stepped up? I like the idea of a site visit to understand what the town's road is like in perspective to this dam. If maintaining these lakes are of significant property value to the town of Round Lake and the road is involved, I think that's an option that the town should be looking at, and I don't know why that's not discussed. The committee had 3 months by statute to present you with a report, which is what you have tonight. Statutes provide you a few more months to make a decision, and I don't believe that again, all the facts have been determined with regard to this, and that you have additional time to look into some of these other viable options. Look, in fact, at the materials that the committee did not look at. And maybe my biggest objection was at the last committee meeting, the committee did not have the findings of fact or conclusions of law presented them in advance of the meeting. I think attorney was somewhat confused as to whether they were going to act at that meeting. So the findings of fact and conclusions of law were placed on the video screen, and the committee was led through them. I have questions about the language too, so I guess I would also ask that you as a county board, before you agree to the findings of fact and conclusions of law, you take the time to look at them, because the committee did not have that chance. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one to be read by our clerk, Liz, please.
Jeffrey Merriman and Susan Shingler couldn't be here due to personal reasons. Dear board members, after submitting 2 previous emails with our thoughts and concerns regarding the dam replacement and the formation of a lake district with tax increases, we do not understand or agree with any property owner being forced to join and pay increased taxes. There appears to be other means to pay for replacement. There does not appear to be any reassurance that the dam is the only issue, and there could be the potential for future tax increases for other reasons. Given this concern and other previously stated by us, we respect those that agree with the formation of the district for whatever reason. However, we don't believe that anyone should be forced into this situation. Our property is included in the list of properties that requested removal from the Lake District. We once again request to be removed from any district with increased taxation now or in the future for any reason. Respectfully, Jeffrey Merriman, Susan Shingler.
Thank you. At this time, we have some awards from the ambulance service. Pardon? Well, step forward then. I didn't have a paper for you. Go ahead.
Okay. Kimberly Kaler, 1154 West Plover Lane. I am a member of the committee. My goal tonight is to make sure that Sawyer County is aware of the communication efforts related to the possible formation. If I was sitting in your shoes, I would want to understand what has been communicated to our community during the last 2 years. Of the possible 219 eligible signers, 135 are supporters, just shy of 62%. And those that rendered their support, as well as those that did not, had ample opportunity to be part of the process. From the onset, our committee worked diligently to communicate frequently and transparently with all stakeholders over all of the issues that you have heard tonight. Some of the highlights and recap of things we've done over the last 2 years, USPS mailings to all property owners of record, numerous emails, a website that carried information with timely updates, extensive resource links from the University of Wisconsin, a lot of other information, all of our committee packets, anything that we shared in any sort of forum, how lake districts operate, state statute. We held open houses at the dam that we had representatives from the DNR in attendance. An informal survey was conducted with all property owners that actually let us move ahead with our formation. Round Lake Town Meeting appearances. So there has been coordination with Round Lake all along the way to both land planning as well as council. Door knocking, hand-delivered flyers, Lake Association meeting updates. We held those meetings on Zoom since we have many people that, maybe come for a weekend and do live elsewhere. Lake Association meeting updates, yard and road signs that included a QR code. So those could actually snap it and go right to the website for more information. One-on-one conversations, petition mailings, public notices. One example of the rhetoric that has been shared of those not in support is that we have not communicated with regards to costs of a new dam. Since we do not have a crystal ball, we can't predict material, labor, and engineering costs for a new dam at the time that it will be built. So any communication that we would give would be false and misleading. However, knowing that it is such a huge issue for every single one of us, committee members as well, we don't want our taxes raised either. We worked really diligently to share whatever information we could find. The committee met with financial experts to understand how low interest loans would work. We surveyed and shared information about recent dam construction costs in our area, including information from engineering consultants, coordinated extensively with the UW Extension to understand potential grants and funding processes, and we shared all of this information on our website in public forums May 25th and following up, and it's all still available for anyone that has interest in it. So in summary, as you make your decision, please know our committee has worked intentionally to be inclusive and build awareness because we recognize it's the best interest of the entire community and the long-term health of our Lake Association. Thank you.
Thank you. Will we go forward? Pardon? There's one more?
It'll be short. I haven't had time to prepare anything. My name is Natalie Lillyblad. I live at 10730W Otter Lane, Hayward. I am against the Lake District grabbing people and pulling them in for their money. I think the Lake District is great for people that live on the lake. It was also mentioned that most or many lake owners have several homes. I do not. I have one home. That's it. I am low income, disabled from a car accident. My home is not going to be valued at the value it is now once this tax levy is put on it. It will reduce it significantly because it's a big question mark. We don't know how much that's going to affect it. So I am against it, and I think they should pay for their lake maintaining, not me. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll remind the public that we allow public comments from the beginning of the meeting for half an hour, 7 o'clock, and we're past that now. So at this time, we have some awards for the ambulance service, please.
Good evening. My name is John Frommel. I'm the Sawyer County Ambulance Director. Today, I want to present somebody with a plaque for going out into our community. He's been in EMS for over 40 years. He's been a valued part of our county, Round Lake Township. He goes to churches and he goes to businesses to teach CPR, stop the bleed. He's updated many AEDs throughout the community, making sure that their AEDs are working properly and everything that they have is up to date. He has taught many churches. And also he is you're part of one of the associations?
I'm on the board of directors for the Hayward Lakes Association.
And when he goes down to conferences, not only is he down there for the lakes, but he also represents Sawyer County Ambulance. Today I want to present him with this plaque. It's a Sawyer County Community Hero plaque presented to Jim Onerheim for all you've done for all of Sawyer County with teaching CPR, AED, and stop the bleed throughout the community.
Anytime I can get a chance to be in front of a microphone, I guess I'll take advantage of it. But John, I'd like to thank you so very much. And I tell you, I get energized by helping and doing as much as I possibly can, simply for the fact that I'm a firm believer that we get a lot from our communities. And it's always a team effort. Everybody kicks in. It's not just me at the ambulance garage, it's everybody. We work together as a team, just like on the football field. Everybody works together. And I get energized because I get so much from this community. And I want to give back the best I possibly can. And that just fires me up. I can't sit still, I really can't. And if I complain to my wife's Barb, she says, go in the bathroom and look in that mirror in there and blame the guy you see in that mirror. Don't tell me about it. So anyway, with that in mind, I guess, again, thank you so very much. Greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to continue doing as much as I can for this community as long as I possibly can. So thank you.
Thank you. Number 8, consider approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I move a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Duffy, second by Ms. Hessel. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, zoning committee. Mr. Buckles.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The zoning committee will hold its monthly hearing tomorrow, a public hearing tomorrow at 8:30. At last month's meeting, the committee approved 1 CUP and approved a 7-lot subdivision in the town of Bass Lake. The committee also made recommendations of approval on 3 rezone cases, which will be heard next. The first multi-dwelling development ad hoc committee took place earlier today. Additional meetings are anticipated to work through the conflicting language with the current zoning ordinance. A 2024 year-end report will be given at the zoning committee tomorrow, and the meeting will be shared with the county board next month. So if there's no more questions, I will turn it over to Jay for the 3 rezone cases. And that ends my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Buckles.
I'll start off rezone number 24-014, Mary Sliz Chukka, located in town of Coudray. Tax ID is 44181. It is 31.4 total acres. Purpose of the request is a rezone approximately 24.32 acres that's south of the Coudray River from residential recreational 2 to agricultural 1. This would then allow for existing agricultural buildings to remain on the property with a pending sale of the land north of the river. The agricultural buildings would be an approved use within the agricultural 1 zone district, thus the zone district subject change request. This immediate area is light residential and agricultural. Comprehensive plan for the town of Coudray showed this as forestry residential, which is the intent to keep 5-acre lot minimums, be it zoned to agricultural, would have a minimum of 5-acre minimums as well. There were 6 additional notification letters sent out to property owners within 300 feet. 1 was returned with no additional objections. Town of Coudray approved the request on December 11th. At the Sawyer County Zoning Committee public hearing on December 20th, 2024, it was recommended of a vote of approval 5-0 with the findings of facts included in my staff report.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve rezone number 24-014 as presented.
I'll second that.
A motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Ms. Wilson to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This is the zone district map amendment for rezone number 24-015, James Mead et al. Town of Coudray, tax ID 43687 and tax ID 45111. It is a total of 9.6 acres combined between the 2 lots. They are currently zoned Forestry 1. Purpose of the request is to rezone all 9.66 acres from Forestry 1 to Residential Recreational 2. Purpose of the request is then further subdivide the 6.1 acre lot into another buildable lot for another parcel. You had heard from the owner of the property earlier as part of the public comments for this request. Town of Coudray comprehensive plan shows this future land use area as tribal. That is because it is included as part of the Coudray reservation agreement boundary, but this is as a private landowner within the reservation agreement boundary. There are other RR2 properties specifically to the north and west of the Coudray River as to not be viewed as spot zoning. The current surrounding land use is light residential and forestry. The shoreline wetland district is not subject to change as part of the request. There were 9 additional notification letters sent out. 2 were returned with objections. Those were read into record. The town of Coudray did approve the rezone request on December 11th. The Sawyer County Zoning Committee public hearing on December 20th. It was approved at the vote 5-0 of the staff report of the findings of facts included in my staff report.
Mr. Buckles.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve rezone number 24-015.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Buckles, second by Mr. Savinsky to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This is the zone district map amendment for rezone number 24-016, owner William and Timothy Kehoe. This is in the town of Radisson. Tax ID 22699 and 22697. It is 40 acres for the one tax ID and 14.39 for the other tax ID, which is a total of 54.39 acres. Currently zoned RR1. The request is to rezone the entire property from RR1 to agricultural 1 for the proper zoning of the current and existing use of agricultural or farming with future expansion of farming. This was brought to our attention last fall in that there were livestock on this property. Be it zoned RR2 would be an illegal use per the zone district. Thus, Mr. Kehoe coming in and willingly want to rezone to the appropriate zone district. In conversations with him then, he also wanted to expand the farming operation. This current surrounding land use of the area is light residential and predominantly agricultural. There were 9 additional notification letters sent out to property owners within 300 feet. 0 were returned. The town of Radisson, as part of their comprehensive plan, did show this area as forest residential. That is an area where they anticipate to see residential growth. However, the town of Radisson did approve the rezone request on December 9th. At the Sawyer County Zoning Committee public hearing on December 20th, it was motioned for a vote of recommendation for approval of 5-0 with the findings of facts included in my staff report.
Mr. Schuman.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve rezone 24-016 as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion to approve by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Carrion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 10, Public Works Committee report.
This is from our report on January 8th, 2025. The maintenance portion, they're still trying to fill a budgeted part-time position that's been open since October 23. However, they were able to hire the limited term employee for the winter months. Oh, come on. There we go. The new vehicles that were ordered for, excuse me, for forestry and health human services as part of 2025 capital improvement plan have been arrived and put into service. The sheriff's department, they have 2 of the 5 vehicles that were included of the 2025 CIP have arrived and are currently being upfitted with the general communications in Eau Claire. For the ambulance department, all the work that maintenance department was doing to construct the additional sleeping room in the Hayward Ambulance Station has been completed. They're currently waiting for Aaron to install the required sprinkler head in the room for protective systems to install smoke, carbon monoxide detectors in the room, connect them to the fire control system. After the work has been completed, there'll be inspection done so they can occupy. And the highway department, they've completed the HVAC repairs at both Hayward and Radisson shops. For the Sawyer County Airport report, December Traffic was average. Snow bodes well for the budget, but doesn't help well for the tourism traffic. Spring Runway project is yet to have a contract signed with the low bidder. They've been assured that they're still tracking for spring construction. Once the contract is signed, they'll set a pre-strict construction meeting. Once again, the goal is get started swiftly. Once seasonal road weight restrictions are removed, project has a 30 working day limit. Seems the difficulties are down in Madison at the BOA. Excuse me, that are dominating the headlines for the aviation and state of Wisconsin. I apologize. New master plan updates. We're still waiting for the state BOA to finish contracting for the LP. The step again is going to take most of FY 2025 to finish. The maintenance department has been helping with some of the motorized gates repairs, still having power issues at the North Hangar Row gate. It is on the electrician's to-do list. They now have AED and Narcan at the terminal building, and they're planning to do some training with the ambulance at the end of the month. FBO business was very similar 2020 to 2023. The looming shutdown for the runway project is going to have a major effect on the whole operation. Airport revenues are going to be significantly affected because of it as well. Excuse me. Highway Commissioner's report. Crews have been outperforming snow and ice control on multiple small storms. They've been both freezing rains and snow events in the past month. Brushing has continued on South State Highway 27 north to State Highway 77. Highway CC brushing has started and will be going throughout the winter. All brush and trees will be moved within the ROW. County brushing was completed at LCO development. LCO has flagged many trees in this section to be cut. Highway and LCO crews will work together on the removal of these trees. Truck entering signs have also been installed. All county, village, and town bridge inspections have been completed and sent out. Also, all 6 to 20-foot culvert inventory has been completed and sent the invoice to state for payment. There'll be the commissioner will be meeting with the KBIS on January 2nd to go over inspections. They had some leftover RMA money for the state and were able to secure 2 loads of mastic and a load of crack seal. He was also able to purchase a scale to calibrate the trucks. There are 2 new plow trucks at Universal getting outfitted. I apologize. We should be taking delivery of these in June. We're also in the process of receiving quotes for a new 1-ton dump truck. Our night watchman has started. Hours are 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. They conducted interviews on December 18th and filled the open position in the Hayward location. The commissioner will be attending Winter Road School January 13th to the 15th at Chula Vista in Wisconsin Dells. Thank you. That's the end of my report. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Number 11, Public Safety Committee Report, Mr. Buckles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me, the Public Safety Committee / Economic Development, we had a dual meeting on January 2nd. First of all, the Public Safety Radio Network discussion with Bug Tussle, in my opinion, didn't go as we thought it would. Mr. Alvarado advised that he had a call with Bug Tussle and GenCom to review potential sites with tower heights and gathering possibilities. Scott Felt from Bug Tussle joined the meeting late at 9:30 in the morning. They are happy to discuss putting up the tower.
Exciting. I said, I'm moving to online.
If I had some help there. They are happy to discuss putting up towers, and if so, could they be taller than existing units? Taller towers would allow for fewer towers overall at this point in time. Co-locating on towers with bug tussle would not involve additional space rental costs. A motion was made by Mr. Helwig and second by Mr. Righeimer to have bug tussle work with GenCom to provide a proposal not to exceed 16 million in borrowing capacity and present it at February's meeting of the joint committee again. A roll call vote was taken and it passed unanimously 8-0. Circuit Court, there was no judge's report. Clerk of Court, written report was provided. A list of new cases were filed, was included. Sheriff's report, a written report was provided and reviewed by Sheriff Rotek. Traffic enforcement runs about 50 traffic stops per month. Jail report, a written report was provided and reviewed by Chief Sedera. The average daily population for 2024 was 60. 2 individuals are currently on electronic monitor. The Communication Center and Emergency Management, Mrs. Rapinski provided a verbal update. The joint powers agreement for municipalities were sent out last week. The Communication Center has received over 4,000 calls this past year. Code enforcement, a written report was provided showing shelter admittance and calls received. Mrs. Olson advised that there were 17 dogs that came into the pound last month, and there were many animals at large calls. The highest call volume took place in the month of October 2024. The highest admissions were in December. The 2025 rabies clinic is set for April. A child department report was given. Emergency services, public safety report. Mr. Fremmel advised that after January, we should be fully staffed on paramedic side, and EMTs will be willing to pick up extra shifts, so we should be able to run all the 2-person crew soon. In breaking down the history of calls, he feels that August and September are the busiest months for the department, and the average run time is approximately 3 hours, including paperwork time. They will have to monitor all systems to evaluate where the best locations for these units and have receiving 6 AED saves. So that ends my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Number 12, Land, Water, Forestry. Mr. Steve, carry on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Land, Water, and Forestry met on January 8th. One of the first items we did was to elect a chair and vice chair, as our previous chair, John Soralski, retired from the committee about a month ago. So as acting chair for that committee, I was nominated and elected to be chair going forward, and Randy Newman was elected vice chair going forward. We received a written report from the Register of Deeds, Rachel Thompson, who introduced herself to the committee. Land records and county survey reports were provided by Mr. DeVries and Mrs. Wendt. The Sawyer County Forestry Department report was provided by Mr. Peterson, who showed a gross revenue of $2.5 million of timber sales compared to a budget of 1.8 million. So they did well, and there's another 4.4 million in uncut sold contracts on file. So they've got a pipeline of product there to be moving in the next couple of years. We reviewed the Sawyer County Forestry 2025 work plan and approved the work plan. And I believe this committee is asked to do the same, if I'm not mistaken. So the work plan covers the entire forest, which is 115,000 acres, and there's about 95,000 acres of productive forest land. Timber harvest for 2025 is about 3,500 acres. And about 2/3 of that is going to be even-aged stands, primarily aspen and oak. And rest is primarily northern hardwoods. They're projecting about 1.8 million in revenue from next year's timber harvest. We've got a lot of roads and trails to maintain out there. Recreational trails are a big thing. ATV, UTV trails, ski trails, bike trails, hunter walking trails, hiking trails, all sorts of trails. So not only are they cutting trees down, they're making places for folks to do their thing in the woods. They also take care of Hatchery Creek Park, Eagles Landing, and Nelson Lake Boat Landing. And they work with the U.S. Forest Service on what's called the Good Neighbor Authority, which is a partnership between the Forest Service and DNR and the county forests to kind of work together when they've got adjacent properties. So that's kind of a thumbnail sketch of what the plan involves. So anyone care to make a motion to approve or have any other questions around the plan?
Mr. Alvarado.
Just, I was going to point out that there's two things. The 2025 Sawyer County Work Plan needs to be approved by the board, as well as the partnership minutes with the DNR. They go together, but there are two separate documents in your packet, and both need to be included in the motion to approve.
I'll second it, Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Evans, second by Mr. Schuman to approve Sawyer County 2025 Annual Work Plan. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion? Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the Sawyer County Partnership meeting. Excuse me, Sawyer. What's the second one? That's the part of it? Okay. And we're approving their minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the Sawyer County Partnership meeting minutes.
Mr. Buckles?
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Newman, second by Mr. Buckles to approve the minutes of the partnership meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Letter C, Callahan and Mud Lake District petition. Mr. You got any more you want to add?
No, we can turn it over to Andy. Thank you.
Mr. Alvarado.
Sure, I'll start with a little bit of a summation of the process. We do have Corp Counsel Rebecca Roker on as well, and she'll jump in here a little bit to explain some of the documents that have been prepared. But the Callahan and Mud Lakes lake petition was received by the county in October. Within 30 days, we needed to hold a public hearing that was held by the Land, Water, and Forestry Committee on November 6th. Within 3 months of the public hearing, the committee has to file a report to the board with basically it's a report of the hearing to the board. You have that in your packet tonight. When we get to action items, the board just needs to accept their report. Within 6 months of the hearing date, the county board has to take action on the creation or denial of the district. With the committee, Land, Water, Forestry Committee at their meeting last week approved the report to the board and forwarded it here. They also approved the findings of fact and conclusions of law, which would be the document that would need to be acted on to create or deny the Lake District. They approved that and forwarded it to the board. All those documents are within the agenda packet. Also in the agenda packet are the reference documents dealing with that the staff prepared for the purposes of giving some visuals regarding the formation of the district. This included a map that has the boundaries of the district, highlights the parcels that signed the petition, and then also a map that highlights the property owners within the district that have asked to be removed from the district. And also, if you went to the online map, you can see the public properties that are within the district. I can pull it up at some point if we want to go through the map.
Yeah, I want to see all that, Andy.
Okay,
I mean, we have 6 months to do this. Why are we rushing it through tonight?
you don't have to. I mean, the committee essentially has said, the committee had 3 months to get their report to the board completed. That, they have to have that here, or within 3 months, or February 6th will be 3 months. So they're reporting it here, and 6 months from the November 6th date, the county board has to take action. The committee essentially is saying they're done with it. They have prepared draft findings of fact and conclusions of law and forwarded it to the board to take over the process now. So you're correct, you do have another 3 months before the county board has to take action according to statute.
And where are the public hearing minutes then? Are they within these minutes?
The public hearing, effectively, the Lake District
report?
Committee report to the board includes what happened at the public hearing.
They're here.
Yep, they are there. Item, let's see here. I lost it, hang on. Item I.
Remember, there's that, everything is under zoning and conservation, and everything is all laid out as well on the
Correct.
website.
So that does go to the agenda first, item 12 under land water. Under C is the Callahan and Mud Lake District petition. Item I is the report to the board. I, or 2, 3, and 4, and 5 are resource maps. And then item 6, those are all Roman numerals, are the findings of fact and conclusions of law and decision that the committee approved and forwarded to the board now.
Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chairman, the Wisconsin Council, or Wisconsin Counties Association is having a webinar next week on the 22nd. It deals specifically with lake districts. I would recommend, or I'd make a motion that we table this until as many of us as possible can watch that webinar.
I would second the motion to table, but I guess we need until when? More accurate date.
Till the next meeting, our next board meeting. Gives us plenty of time.
I'm good with that.
So we have a motion to table, Mr. Evans, second by Mr. Schuman. Do we?
Just, yeah, I mean, I think tabling action on the Lake District, that's good. I think there should be another motion at some point just to accept the report from the committee, that you've received that within the 3 months that was
I'll
required.
motion to accept that report.
Yeah, you got one motion on the floor already.
So let's clarify, we're tabling which part of it?
You'd be tabling item 6.
6?
It is, just as long as we have council online, I want her to weigh in here and make sure we're navigating this right. Rebecca, do you understand what the board is wanting to do?
I believe so. What I heard was the motion that's on the floor was to table the decision until the next county board meeting. In part, so more information can be gathered by the board. And then there was also an inclination to accept the report from the committee. So, and that is appropriate as well. What I would recommend is that the motion that's on the floor, that you rescind that motion, and then perhaps do a new motion to accept the report, and then the motion to table any remaining matters on the agenda pertaining to the Lake District will be held off until the next board meeting. So again, if the maker of the motion is so inclined to rescind that motion, and then perhaps a new motion to accept the report, then you can move forward, if you are so inclined, with the motion to table until the next board meeting.
Mr. Schuman?
Oh, I'll rescind my second then on that motion so we can do it in the proper order.
I'll rescind the original motion.
Okay, thank you. So.
And then I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to accept the report, the public hearing report on the Lake District.
I'll second it.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Mr. Schuman, second by Mr. Evans, to accept the report.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. I just want to clarify for the board that by accepting the report from the committee, you are not bound to make a decision one way or the other. You are simply accepting the report. And as Mr. Alvarado pointed out, that is one of the requirements of the statute. So by your accepting the report, you are literally doing just that. You're taking it from the hands of the committee, and now the decision lies in your hands. But it does not obligate you to make a decision one way or the other. It just simply means that from a legal standpoint, the report is in your hands. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy.
How was the boundary line established? And it seems like our visitors here, those who object to the boundaries. And for those lots that don't touch, get no benefit from the lake, what's the formula for including them?
I believe that can be addressed, but that would be after we take care of the motion that's on the floor,
Okay.
if I may. So we have a motion on the floor to accept the committee's report. Any other discussion regarding that? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, can you address that?
Sure.
please?
The boundaries were submitted with the petition. So the organizers of the petition, they established the boundaries. Then they had to go out and get signatures from the property owners within those boundaries that equaled at least 51% of the eligible signatories for those properties.
Now, I understand they established them, but what was the formula for establishing it? I mean, when is a lot too far away from the lake to be excluded? And
Well, first thing I'll say, there's no magic black or white answer to that. But you heard some of the public comment. There is advisement within statute and the education piece from the Stevens Point. I've included, and I can pull it up, but there's a list of recommended properties to include. But there's no, you have to include this or do not include this. But we can provide that additional, that's the type of questions we're looking for. If you're going to table this, that we can get more detailed answers to you for that.
Mr. Evans.
I was just gonna go back to that motion. I'd like to make a motion that we table this and all matters involving it until we can hopefully watch this webinar on the 22nd. So I motion to table this until our next board meeting.
Okay. Mr. Schuman.
Ms. Hessel had her light on.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion by Mr. Evans, second by Mrs. Hessel to table until next month. We'll have it on the agenda next month with the county board. Any discussion?
Let's do the motion. I'll talk about it.
Sorry.
Yep.
Chairman, when can we do discussion on like who owns the dam? I heard somebody say, we have no idea who owns it or nobody owns it. And we have 40 or 50 other dams out there that no one owns,
We can have that discussion.
now or later?
Well, we have the motion on the table. Let's take care of that. Okay. The motion is the table until next month. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So I'll make a few comments then. And Jay, if you want to help out. So we did talk to the DNR. You know that we own 8 dams that are county-owned dams. We're responsible, so we know we own those. There are another 40 dams that are under the DNR's jurisdiction in the county, 40 some. I'm sure it's almost 50 total. So the DNR is responsible to regulate, manage, to keep track of all these properties. We don't know how many.
Financially responsible?
No, the DNRs are not responsible for any of the dams, but they're responsible for making sure that they're maintained, they're not at risk, making sure that, like, for us, we have to do dam inspection reports based on a timeline that we have to provide to them. If the DNR does go out and inspect the dams and determines if action is needed. We don't know how many of these do not have ownership. We did talk to the DNR, and they, based on their determination, they have not identified an owner of the Callahan Mud Lake Dam. And that's why they've been working with the Lake Association on establishing a responsible party for it.
And we have a fund set aside to repair some of the dams we're responsible for, the research.
Yeah, traditionally, the county has set aside, you used to set aside money regularly into that fund to take care of our dams, and we match them up, have been successful, Jay has, with matching those dollars we put aside with municipal dam grants through the state in order to rehab or replace dams. Now when we have money available, we've been moving money into that fund because we know we have dam projects.
How did we fund that last Tiger Cat dam then? Was that multiple, like a grant and
Yep.
our money and?
It's like our money and a matching dam grant. Mr. Buckholt's question, WCA, you should be all receiving the emails, does an In the Boardroom series where once a month they do education. This month, it's January 22nd, that's next week at noon. It's a webinar on lake districts. Most likely, Atolis Law, who our council works for, is the one conducting or doing the session, so. Noon. If you need that information, like the link or how to register, let me know. If you want me to have it up on a screen here, you can all come watch it, let me know so we can post an agenda. But you should be able to watch it from the comfort of your living room on the computer if you want.
Can you send out a link for that?
Sure. You have to register to get the link, so I'll send you the where to register, yep.
No more?
I hate to go again, but,
That's right.
so if we have 40 of these dams that we think nobody owns, are we gonna have
No.
40 lake districts?
There's 40 more dams in the county.
Oh,
We don't know if any of others have a lack of ownership. We know this one does. The DNR didn't give us a number of how many are unknown, I don't think, did they?
No, and if I may, I thought the number was 57 identified dams within the county. Now, a dam can be all sorts of different things. It can be a large concrete, wall that's holding back a large amount of water, or it could have been someone that, took literal shovels of dirt and threw concrete next to a stream and created an impoundment. So dams come in many shapes and forms and sizes. 57 in the county, 8 county owned. I'm not sure the ownership of the others. I'm sure there are DNR owned dams. I'm sure there's state owned dams. The power companies own some of our dams, but there's probably close to 40 or 30 that are either owned by private property owners or have no form of ownership.
Yes.
I assume we're establishing a precedent of how these other dams will come forward.
You can count on it. Can you address the way that some of these people feel that they should not be in? Is there a way for them to?
So the request by the property owners to be removed from the district is something the county board considered. I'm sorry, I'm pointing at you guys because you're on the committee. The Land Water Forestry Committee removed one property from the original petition. And it was staff recommended because there was an issue with the legal description that was used for the petition, did not cover all of that property, and the property was across the road, so we did recommended removal of that one. With the committee, we did not recommend keeping in or removing any other properties, and the committee did not take that up, and I believe they intended for the county board to take up any request for removal. The county board, when they consider the petition and the findings of fact and conclusions of law, can remove properties from the district at adoption, as part of the adoption. You cannot add properties without going back and having a public hearing, kind of restarting the process. The whole comments about keyhole, that would be like if you have the boundaries of your district, it's not recommended to take a property out of the middle. But they do say if you can, try to keep your removals to the edges where you can adjust the boundary lines. Again, those are recommendations, those are not, you have to do this, but that's the best practice.
Yeah, well, I want to thank the Land and Water Committee for doing a good job in this. But if you let one out, then these people have a legitimate gripe. They should be able to get out. If you let one out, these people want out, they should be able to get out. So that would be my next thing. If they want out, we should let them out.
Yes, sir.
Chair, may I encourage us to go on to item 13, because we have tabled this till next meeting, so I just am encouraging you for point of order.
Thank you.
I want to hear more about it.
Well, we're gonna have it on agenda next month. Do you have specific questions?
I haven't asked them.
Okay.
Should have Ron or too.
Well, yeah, but she always has to say that. Can't talk, but she can talk.
Did you have another specific question, Mr. Schuman?
As I learn more, I will.
Okay. But we will have it on agenda.
Yep. And if you have questions after you go through the webinar next week, feel free to call us, email us. We have a handful of staff that have been working on this, trying to answer questions for land, water, and we'll have responses ready for the board meeting.
Okay with that?
And
I wasn't trying to stifle the conversation. I was just trying to keep you out of trouble for point of order.
no, for Mr. Schuman, at the webinar, we'll be able to ask a lot of other questions that I think we all need to hear.
Okay, thank you. Number 13, Health and Human Services Board report. Ms. Wilson. Thank you, Jay.
That's all right, thank you. We had our meeting on January 7th. And adult long-term care is fully staffed now. It has 56 open cases, 12 emotional or verbal abuse cases, 24 self-neglect, and 23 financial exploitation cases. There's been $1,151,699 of exploitation under investigation. Behavioral health needs a mental health substance use counselor as needs are increasing. CCS is on temporary hold as the last client was discharged in December. The staff is participating in Kane's Kids Club after-school program for academic enrichment, mental health support, and play-based opportunities. There are 58 children in long-term care. They're working on a new transport service, and their first time was positive for this transport service. Child Protective Services and Youth Justice, there are 29 children in out-of-home care. Youth Justice has 35 ongoing cases with 2 pending court cases. There has been an incident of gun violence with a youth being shot. A truancy officer is being hired for the diversion program. Economic Support reported 1,098 food share cases with $279,694 of benefits issued. The call center received 6,999 calls last month. The Public Health reported a case of bird flu in Barron. COVID and RSV are at low levels, but flu is increasing. Only 27% of Sawyer County has received a flu vaccination at this time. The Medical Reserve Corps members have logged in 289 volunteer hours in 2024. There will be a tabletop exercise on January 29th about flooding, as well as well and septic contamination. The Physical Review Recap reported the state reimbursement for services was received in the amount of $360,000. And then on a personal note, I just wanted to tell you that I received a call from a resident in my district last Friday afternoon. He explained his dilemma with HHS. He did not know who to call for help. I told him I would contact someone for him, but it was late and I probably wouldn't get any answers until next week. I would call him when I had some information. So I called HHS thinking I would get an answering machine, but Ms. Carlson picked up the phone. She looked into her database for his information and said she would take care of it. I later got a call after 5 p.m. on Friday stating Ms. Carlson had reached out to the individual, explained that what he needed to do to resolve his issue, and the client was finally satisfied. I really want to commend the personnel on their dedication to their job and to the people of Sawyer County. That's my report.
Thank you, and that is a very nice ending of your report. Finance Committee.
Thank you. Finance Committee met January 9th. Chairman Ringheimer called the meeting to order at 8:30 a.m. The written reports were given by the treasurer and the financial department. The investment update was given by Mr. Markren. He reviewed the written report showing interest earned on the county's accounts. Year-to-date interest is $1,001,003. Oh, forget it. It's a lot. So if you look at the full minutes, you'll be fine. The EMS, we spend a lot of time on the EMS and ambulance. Mr. Markren reviewed written reports on ambulance billing. The new billing company is yielding better results, but overall collection rates remain a challenge. And again, you can read that full report and all of his charts on the report given. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson, did I cut you short? I didn't mean to.
No, I said I was done. Thank you.
Your light was on.
Oh.
Thank you, Ms. Essel. Number 15, Economic Development, UW Extension Committee.
Sorry, you get to hear me talk again for those that don't want to. January 6th, the Economic Development Committee met, and the Sawyer County Fair did not give a written report, nor did the Wisconsin UW Extension. The Hayward Lake Visitors Convention Bureau, a written report was provided and reviewed by Mrs. Simmons. General website traffic stats were included showing usage up from 2023. The webcam is the top performing page, and they have 6,872 Facebook followers. The YouTube channel is getting many views. One video getting 19,825 views in 28 days. The lack of snow again this year has negatively affected some business traffic. Northwest Regional Planning Commission report did not give an update. Director of Economic Development for Sawyer County and LCO, Mr. Lamore, just gave an update on all the efforts that are being made for an incubator to help develop small businesses. And motorized trail and non-motorized trails report, Mrs. LaRue provided a report to be read in snowmobile funding experiencing frugal grant funding, and legislation is looking to increase trail pass fees. Representative Chance Green attended their AWSC banquet fundraiser. They have been encouraging ATV, UTV riders to come to the county when weather cooperates, and some resorts are reporting success. Mr. Duffy reported that the Berkey is now full and the Cordy and Prince Hawken races are nearly at capacity. The Berkey is making snow, and the Nordic kids meet every Sunday at Double O with over 150 kids each week. Mr. Alvarado advised that he met with GEMCOM and Bug Tussle and requested update proposals. And we also considered bead endorsements for Novato, and then we concluded. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Number 16, do we have to deal with letter B?
Yes.
Can you highlight that for us, please?
Sure. So as Ms. Hessel just said, the committee did receive a request for a bead endorsement from Novato. This is same type of thing that we did for Mosaic last month. The bead funding is moving ahead. Applications opened up this week. Providers that have already indicated a letter of intent to apply, which Novato has, we submitting their applications. Part of that is seeking endorsements from counties, which helps them score more points for the projects. Novato went through a presentation with the committee and identified their potential project that would occur in the towns of Bass Lake, Hayward, Lenroot, Round Lake, Spider Lake, and Hunter. And so the resolution provides them an endorsement for those towns. They're estimating that there'd be over 3,000 locations they call BSLs, which are essentially rooftops or businesses, that their project will cover.
I would move that we endorse Novato for bead funding.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Mr. Carrihan and second by Mr. Newman to approve. Question.
I have a question when it comes to the bead endorsements, just like when we did the last round. Is the county as an entity charging permit fees for these entities going in the right of ways?
No, we have not been, because we have that broadband, the county passed the broadband forward resolution years ago, which is, so they don't charge permit fees for the right-of-ways.
And why did we do that?
Because we wanted to facilitate the rolling out of broadband throughout the county.
And then we can't control what side they're on? We can't control,
No, we still issue a permit, but the fee is waived.
okay. I just, as I travel throughout the whole state, there's many counties that are charging and they pay these fees. And as this overbuild and the overbuild just for Sawyer County is huge for Charter and all the other ones that are coming through. And we're gonna start running out of room and we're not regulating it. And so that could also be something to consider of charging a fee so we can, so they report to us and let us know where they're gonna be and whatnot.
Okay. I will check on the second part of that. I know with the broadband forward that the county put that together probably 5 years ago to encourage broadband growth. That was part of that certification. But I know we still manage the permits because we want to make sure we know who's working, that they restore the site, so those things all still apply. But you're talking about keeping a mapping basically of the build?
Well, as each one is coming through, we're starting to run out of room. And so if we can control what side they're gonna be on, it just makes a difference. And then when we run into damage, so there was a damage last year over by Winter where they went through the culvert. And so luckily we were able to work with them to get them back out there and they repaired the work, and luckily the county caught that. And then not later, but a lot of these subcontractors that are coming through, and in 2 years, we're not gonna know who did what. And it's gonna be very hard for accountability.
I will check on that part of it. We had the issue on County K as well, I believe, where there was some damage that they had to repair.
Thanks for pointing that out. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 16, Administrative Committee meeting update. We have the minutes attached to that, so we'll go right to number 17, County Administrator's report.
I will try to keep it short because honestly, we've talked about a lot of it. And over the holidays, it's kind of just transitioning into the new year. Our new elected officials have transitioned into their roles and getting acclimated. Last month, I talked about the request from Hunter, Round Lake, Spider Lake, and Hayward towns to discuss ambulance service. We did have a meeting Tuesday night out at the town of Round Lake. It was a good exchange of information, hearing their concerns. Ambulance director and myself were able to give some numbers, understand, so they can understand what we're looking at. We did kind of list out a few things to follow up on, and trying to take the conversation to all the townships at the unit meeting. Because it affects everybody if we start adjusting. And if you're not familiar, the town of Round Lake, this initiative kicked off with them wanting a full-time base in the town of Round Lake. They've offered to provide a piece of land where we could build a full-time base. And so we've been more focused, and that came in a number of months ago. In the interim, we've been focused on just addressing our own ambulance service. Like Mr. Buckles pointed out regarding paramedics, we have a few of our EMTs that have gone through paramedic schools and are now have their licenses. They're in orientation, so once they're done next month, we'll be close to full-time staff and paramedics. We'll have to backfill EMTs, but we're heading in the direction of having 3 rigs, full-time, 2 up here in Hayward and 1 in Ojibwa, by having a full staff now. So now we can actually have a better conversation about response times and potential future locations. So it's going to be, I think it's a tough conversation because there's how do you value things? If the response time is depending on if you're waiting for the ambulance or if you're not waiting for the ambulance, the response times might feel different. There is no standard of we have to be there within a certain amount of time. Rural service is difficult, and at some point we could spend a lot of money and make sure everybody has an ambulance within 10 minutes. But how do you value, make a value decision on that? So that's what we're heading towards, though. Broadband, we covered that. Public safety network, I expect we will have proposals For the February public safety meeting, I agree with Mr. Buckholz, the meeting did not go well. Conversations have been not as fruitful as I would hope, but February it's gonna happen or it's not, or we're gonna have to pick a direction and move ahead. The Counties Association is starting their work on the state budget. Next week, I'll be participating in the CAP team at WCA where we start talking to legislators. The target areas that they will have focused in on for this budget cycle is circuit court funding. As you are probably aware, it's a state court system. They pay the judge and the court reporter, and we pick up all the other costs. So we're trying to, and now we have that for 2 courtrooms. And we send most of our collections and the clerk of court's office to the state and keep a smaller part. So that's starting the process to try to keep more of those funds here to offset our court cost. Community support and crisis, which is mental health, which we have a lot of unfunded costs there that Medicare doesn't cover. So they're asking the state to pick up the unfunded federal share. The portion of the federal government does not cover. County land and conservation cost, and then general transportation aids, the LRIP, and discretionary funding for roads are the first one. The first 4 or 5, and then later this year they'll go back in and talk about more human service specific items. And then the implementation of the tourist rooming house is underway. All the existing tourist rooming houses that we license as agents of the state received a lengthy letter kind of outlining the new ordinance and the implementation process and the start of getting everybody educated and understanding what's ahead. Carbon credits, no new updates for us, but just we did find out. Now Bayfield we knew had received proceeds, and Iron County got a check before the end of last year. Into their account was over 500,000, and that's after all the administration costs were paid. So credits are, those 2 counties were ahead of most everybody else. So we're starting to see some revenue coming into those counties, which is encouraging.
So, any questions?
Yep. Andy, are we accruing liability with this radio situation? Because we've heard the officers and the fire department and the rescue people are all at risk because they're in areas. And now we've known, and now we've known about this for a long time. And we've really done nothing other than keep looking at a solution.
There are still uncovered parts of the county, but I would say it's better than it was a year and a half ago. When we switched to GenCom, they made some immediate improvements to what we had, which improved it. There are still gaps though. Are we yeah, I mean, anytime we don't have, I mean, liability is a tough question to answer. Do we want it to be better? Do we need it? Yes, but
we're not in compliance.
there is no compliance.
There ain't?
No.
Okay.
I mean, who are we complying with? We're complying with our own standards and expectations. There is nobody that comes in and audits our radio system.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, if you're an officer, you want us to have a good radio system. I mean, it's helpful to keep our employees and keep them safe, but there is no, I mean, unless I'm speaking out, the sheriff walked out already. We've talked about this. There is no compliance per se. I mean, each of the fire departments could have to put up their own. I mean, the way it was years ago, we'd make a phone call to the fire department chief and say, there's a fire at this address.
Yeah.
And they'd have to figure out how to get a hold of all their firefighters to go out. I'm not saying that we want to do that. We want to have a good countywide system that all the fire departments, law enforcement are part of. But I'm not aware of anybody that we answer to say if we're complying or not.
That cleared it up for me. Thank you.
Number 18, Board Appointment Committee updates. Anybody have anything you want to share, Mr.?
Nothing since our last meeting.
Anybody else? Mr. Schuman?
Sure. Sawyer County Lac-Courte Transit met today. Got a report from our director. We currently have 31 employees and we have no hiring needs at this time. We've filled our fiscal manager position, which our lady that had done that position has now retired, and she's actually stayed on to mentor our new employee. We just completed the 2024 rider surveys for Sawyer, Barron, and Washburn counties. We'll be using this data to determine where gaps in service are and what additional services would be used the most. We conducted a separate survey for the residents in the Winter Loretta area. 49 total surveys were returned. 8 of those surveys were from residents of the Winter area. The data collected from the survey is posted on our company website. Our new logo design contest was launched January 1st, and it'll end January 31st. Information regarding the contest is posted on our website and on our Facebook page. Darren, our mobility manager, has met with the art department leaders from the Hayward and LCO schools to get them involved in the contest. The chamber has done a blast to chamber members and has shared our post to their Facebook page to advertise the contest also. We hope to have many designs to choose from when we vote on them in February. The total ridership in 2024 is 56,175 rides. This is the highest ridership we have seen since pre-COVID 2019. And we hope to see increases in 2025. We feel the increased ridership is due to lowering our fares. Yep. That's what she reported today. We lowered the fares somewhat and it just really boosted the ridership.
What are the fares now?
$2, and if you're 65 and older, it's $1, I believe.
And we did ask the question, Mr. Duffy, if some of our buses now are getting filled to capacity and maybe we'd need a larger bus, but we're not there yet, but carrying way more people.
Mr. Sabin,
That concludes it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, last night we met with the Senior Resource Center and we got a breakdown for the 2024 stats. And with 13 employees, they have 3 meal sites. In 2024, they gave out 6,954 congregate meals, 7 countywide Meals on Wheels routes, and delivered approximately 18,826 meals. The carryout meals were approximately 2,120, and they served 1,946 breakfasts just in Stone Lake. So with all that, approximately almost 30,000 meals for the seniors in Sawyer County were served in 2024. This weekend on Saturday at the Vet Center, they had the Raise the Roof fundraiser, and Larry and the Drifters, or Larry's Drifters, I don't know how many Drifters are left. What is it? Larry's Drifters, they're playing, and they have a bunch of door prizes and raffles, and I think Mr. Kinsley promised to buy 10 tickets himself, but if you want to buy some tickets tomorrow, Joey Johnson at the Senior Resource Center is selling tickets yet, and so yeah, hopefully we see you all there. Oh, that's right. Of course.
Mr. Kinsley's retired now, he can't afford to buy them.
all right. Correspondence reports, conference, anybody else have anything else? Yes.
I just wanted to take a moment to applaud 1990 graduate Sean Duffy for his nomination to the U.S. Department of Transportation. And so he had his hearing yesterday. He did a phenomenal job, made Hayward and especially Wisconsin proud. So I just wanted to note that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Future agenda items, we know that the Lake District's going to be on the agenda, and if somebody else has something that they want on the agenda, please direct to Andy or I or Liz, and we'll get it on the agenda if we can. Thank you for your valuable time. Meeting adjourned. Liz, do you have more stuff that's got to be signed?